You're listening to the Creativepreneur Podcast, Episode 6, and today we're talking about how to take an inspiration day and reconnect with your creative flow. So, stay tuned. Hello, my name is Rodney Washington, author, artist, and entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about helping creatives just like you do what lights you up and make a comfortable living while doing it. Each week, I'll be sharing timely business growth, marketing, and mindset hacks and interviews with courageous creative entrepreneurs to inspire you to get paid for your creativity. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and enjoy today's show. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my free audio, book, and PDF, Get Paid for Your Creativity, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. To get your hands on a copy of the free audiobook and PDF, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57ways-gift. Recently, I was reading the blog post of a good friend and colleague who posted a suggestion that I really took to heart, and I wanted to share that with you in today's lesson. Many of us would think as creatives, be it photographers, visual artists, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, whatever our passion is that we have much to be inspired by. Our work, the people that we work with, can be very inspiring. And to a larger extent, this is true. But as with any creative pursuit, you're going to hit roadblocks from time to time. For example, dealing with client issues, collecting payments, handling paperwork, scheduling appointments, hiring and firing assistants. The list can just go on and on. Operating a creative service business is enough to test the mental resolve of any entrepreneur, let alone one whose enterprise is centered on constantly developing creative solutions for their clients. Now, over time, our creative wellspring can become severely depleted, especially if we don't have enough good self-care practices in place. So in today's lesson, I want to share with you my 6 tips that will help you to refill your creative tank and allow you to become re-inspired. In addition to the 6 tips I'm going to share with you today, I want to give you a little sneak peek excerpt of an interview that I did with Monetize Your Gifts Masterclass teacher, Selena Maitreya. Selena Maitreya shared with us on the call how to bring more creative flow back into your business. And I'm going to put that interview in just a little bit. But right now, I want you to take out a pad and pen and write down these 6 ideas that I have and see if you can implement one of these this coming weekend. Now, the first tip I recommend is if you enjoy art of some sort, I recommend checking out a museum or a gallery. When's the last time that you actually did that? Most cities, most major cities have at least some kind of museum or gallery in your local city. I suggest going out and checking those out. I recently did this, and it really helped to get my creative juices flowing. After spending a couple of hours viewing the works of masters like Rembrandt, Hockney, Warhol, and Jeffrey Koons, and others, I returned to my desk not only inspired by the art itself, but by the artists and how they handled problems creatively. The second tip is, whatever your creative passion is, try to do something that's outside of your specialty. Now, for an example, let's say that you're a writer and you spend most of your time writing nonfiction books. Try your hand this weekend at writing some fiction. Maybe there's a story in your mind that you've been thinking about for a while. I'm not saying that you're going to switch careers and become a novelist, but you just might find a story or something that's really inspiring you that you might want to write about. Another tip I give you is maybe go outside to a public park or go to a coffee shop or some public venue where there's a lot of foot traffic around. Make note of people or situations that just really capture your attention and study those for just a few minutes just to kind of get a sense of what you think is possibly going on. And then start writing your story from that perspective. Make up what you think their life is about. Make up what you think you're seeing in that moment. It can be a great way to get your mind thinking in new directions. If you're a photographer and you primarily shoot food, try shooting people. For an example, if you are a mentor or a coach of some sort, try reading books of great visual artists, for an example. Try other ways to get your mind thinking differently. When you think differently, you become better at creative problem solving. And this is a great exercise to do from time to time. So since you're listening to this podcast today, if you listen to it on a Friday, Use the weekend and take one of the days, maybe Saturday or Sunday or both days, and get out of your house and do something different outside of your normal routine. You may be surprised. You just might inspire yourself and perhaps even, dare I say, go a whole new direction in your business. The third tip is take a short class. There's so many great classes. Recently, I participated in a one-day photo transfer workshop at a local arts center, and it was a great deal of fun. I brought in pictures that I'd already photographed. We did a whole process where we used a type of a gel on top of the photographs and then laid it on paper, and then the photograph was transferred from the picture itself onto this new paper, which I was able to lay on canvas and then paint and color and add all kinds of embellishment to. It was a lot of fun. Again, I won't say it's going to start a new career direction, but it was a great way to get out of the house, be around some new people, and just really get outside of my comfort zone. So it's something I recommend. So take an opportunity. Look around your local community centers, maybe your local community colleges or universities. A lot of them have one day, Saturday, perhaps even Sunday, one day workshops. Even your local church might even have something going on. So consider taking a one day class. It's a great way to meet new people. It's a great way to get out of your comfort zone, a great way to experience something new. And who knows, you might even learn something that may take you in a whole different direction. Explore it. Now, this is my favorite one. Number 4, take a road trip. Nothing gets my creative juices flowing faster than taking a road trip. It can be a road trip even an hour away from your house, try a different direction, go a different course, but hop in the car or even hop on a train, even better. If you live in a metropolitan city where the train service is pretty regular, hop on a train, get out of the car, go someplace different. But road trips are great. The actual motion of being in a vehicle, going someplace outside of my normal routine, always gets my creative juices flowing. And something I'm going to recommend to you also in the show notes of today's podcast is get yourself a really great journal. Something that you can write your ideas on, something that really, if you come up with an idea and something inspires you, put those ideas inside that journal. Again, you just don't know where inspiration is going to come from. So take a road trip. It can be a fun, creative way. You don't have to even spend the night. You just go out for the day and come back in the evening. But it's a fun way to spend the day, and it does get your mind moving. Tip number 5, give yourself a personal project. I hear this a lot, especially from art directors and portfolio consultants. Many of them find that, in particular, photographers will find that their work is much more engaging, their personal work is much more engaging than the work that they use to try to quote unquote get jobs, meaning that the things that go into their quote unquote portfolio that they want to use to get work. So what they'll do is that they'll recommend, if you normally shoot, as I mentioned earlier, if you shoot only weddings, try shooting pets, for an example. Do something different. As I mentioned earlier, if you normally write fiction, try writing some nonfiction. Consider maybe like a tip article or a how-to article or how-to piece. Again, same thing can be done with the camera. Just walk out. When I first got into photography many years ago, I would just take out my camera, a little pocket camera, so it was very unassuming. It wasn't the big professional gear that I eventually upgraded into, but just my pocket camera, and I'd walk around the city and just grab candid shots. I loved getting pictures, capturing pictures when people weren't paying attention to me. Those are really cool images, and I still have those in my portfolio to this day. So do something that's more personal, something that you're not trying to make a business out of, you're not trying to sell. It could be cake decorating. It could be making jewelry if you're an attorney. It could be, I have a really dear friend of mine that knits constantly. It's a great way, it's a great stress reliever. It's something to get her juices flowing and trying something new. This is another great tip for you. Go to an art supply store this weekend and just notice what captures your attention. Maybe pick up a few supplies. If you've been thinking about maybe taking up knitting, see if there's a weekend knitting class. Go pick up some yarns. Go to YouTube and check out some videos, but I prefer you get out of the house and go do something where you're around other people. There's great cooking classes all over the place. So there's a lot of resources out there. It doesn't take a lot. You just got to get out and start searching for the things that really capture your attention and just move with it. You never know. You might learn something great. Finally, this brings me to tip number 6. Begin using a journal. Journals are a great way to document what you're thinking, what your processes are, the things that are coming up for you. Oprah Winfrey said many years ago that writing is very cathartic. It's the idea of using your hand with a pen, writing out your ideas, writing out your thoughts, writing out your feelings. It's a great exercise and something that I highly recommend that you consider doing. Now, to make it super special for you, I recommend getting yourself a good quality journal. You can use any kind of a journal. You can go to an office supply store or even a drugstore and pick up something. But I recommend taking it a little further and get yourself like a really great journal. Corey Wadden, who was also one of my presenters on the Monetize Your Gifts Masterclass, talked about a brand of journals that he uses in his process. And actually, he uses his journals to put in pictures, to put in people that he wants to meet, places he wants to travel to, accomplishments he wants to make in his life. So he writes those things down and he put it almost like a vision book. And also in the show notes, I have links to the company that he uses where he buys his journals. They're beautiful books and he highly recommends them. They run around $50 or so they're not necessarily cheap. But I think something as coveted as your ideas, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations deserves to be in a really nice book that you want to be proud to carry around, something that you want to put in your ideas and the things that inspire you. So consider investing in a really good quality journal. Jot down your thoughts, your feelings, your struggles, even your joys. It's a great way to access your inner being. As visual artists, many times we need to direct our mental energy towards creating physical work. But the times that you're with your journal, it reminds you that there's something deeper, something inner going on. That's our inner voice. That's where creative solutions, creative problem solving comes from, that creates solutions. And our inner voice is constantly trying to give us ideas and directions all the time. But because our inner voice speaks to us through our creative process, many times we don't always hear it. So the key is to give yourself time to listen, and journaling is a great way to accomplish this. So the next time you find yourself feeling restless, grab a notebook and a pen, maybe a cup of coffee, and write down what you're feeling. So with that said, I invite you to go out and get inspired. It's a great way to add more energy into your life, and you just don't know. You just may come across a whole new direction to go in your life and in your business. So with that said, I want to share with you a brief excerpt of an interview that I did with Monetize Your Gifts Masterclass teacher, Selena Maitreya. Selena talked about finding the creative flow in your business. And she talked about three tips that I think are just absolute gold. She recommends that you keep two words on the forefront of your mind. She also talks about being ready when inspiration comes, what to look for, and allow yourself to make mistakes and experience the true inspiration that's all inside of us. So I'm going to move over to the interview, take a listen, and then I'll give you my final notes for today.
Other folks that are listening, stretch with me. That's okay. Stretch with me, because I'm sure you're going to find places here that are really going to resonate quite deeply with you. If we consider creativity coming from a source outside of us that flows through us, then we have context for our discussion here. I believe it was Leonardo da Vinci who was quoted, actually it was Pierre Mondrian, who was quoted as saying, the job of the artist is simple. The artist is a channel. And what he was referring to is a channel for the energy to come through him, the divine energy, the creativity. There are so many wonderful quotes about creativity and where it comes from, and they all direct back to source, to whatever we want to call the universal energy, God, Buddha, Krishna. I call it the oneness, the universal flow. So one of the first concepts is really understanding that creativity isn't just ours. It's something that we can channel. It's kind of like, I love this story. This story was given to me by a teacher of mine years ago, and she said, Selena, when you're really thinking about discussing creativity, think of choosing to take people to the concept of a TV, because everybody knows about TVs. And when you think about when we think about who we are as beings, we're physical bodies, but we have energy inside of us. Quantum physics has proven that. Science has proven that. Our brain is full of electrical impulses. Well, so is a TV. And the idea behind the TV is very similar to the idea of how we channel creativity. Because the TV has all these, I'm like such not a mechanical woman. You know that, Rodney. I am like the least mechanical person you're ever going to meet. But I know enough to know that in a TV, there's all kinds of, electrical charges and radio waves or TV, I guess it's TV waves, right? TV waves that are coming through. And how do we get down to the very specific program on the very specific channel we want? We have one of those multi-switchers, and we hit buttons, and what happens is the very specific energy that needs to be highlighted for us to get to the very specific program on that very specific channel comes up through all of these waves that are out there all the time. Well, that's how we are. We're bodies that are moving through a universe and on a planet where there's all kinds of energy coming at us at all time. And what we need to do is we need to be able to put ourselves in a place, in a state, where we're able to receive this one very specific type of energy, which is creativity. And that really comes from a connection that's outside of us to the divine. So I think it's helpful to just talk about what creativity is. I think most of the folks listening, you'll hopefully agree that it's rare for you to be creating all the time, to be in a state. And I don't know that we ever want to be in a state where we're creating all the time, but we certainly want to be in a place where we have access to tapping into a creative opportunity, to our own creativity, to the divinity outside of us, when we would like to, and that's very possible. But it's not the situation for most people because they are not in a state where they're open to that, because there are certain things we have to do to put ourselves in a place where we're open to creativity, Rodney. So I hope that's the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. For me, I find that I'm most creative, I think. I call it downloads, actually, for me now. I've actually kind of shifted my language about it.
Yeah.
But for me, the act of creativity comes to me actually between those moments when I'm not necessarily doing the thing that I, quote-unquote, would deem as a creative act. I don't know who it was that made this statement that said that music is made between the silence between the notes.
Exactly. And let's look at that. That's perfect, because that takes us to the second question, like how do you access creativity now that we know what it is? And that's it. My downloads happen in the morning, and they happen when I choose to go to quiet. And these are two words I would love everybody to hold in their front pocket at all times, and especially now as we have this conversation together. The words choice and the word awareness. These are very, very important concepts that help take you to the state of being open to receive creativity and creative moments. The silence is important. I've been holding seminars for creative people, all creative people, way beyond photographers now. I just came back from Bogota, Colombia, doing a 4-hour presentation. I've done this in New York City. I just came back from Toronto doing another presentation. And the idea is that the people that I'm talking with are all expressing to me how overloaded they are in their daily life. So choice, we have to be aware of our state. How are you? Where are you? Where are the demands in your life? Where are the times of day that you either have available or you will choose to make available to go to quiet, to allow the material to be received by you? Because people are overloaded today, Rodney. There are so many responsibilities. People are oversaturated. They're overstimulated with noise and light and color and sound. Our society doesn't place value on quiet. It places value on, chalking, as much information as possible. And we're valued for what we can do and how much we can do and how much we can do at the same time, versus placing value on creating lives that allow for quiet, that allow for breath, that allow us to indeed have space and silence to hear the messages that are really truly coming in and available to us all the time.
It is my sincere hope that you found a lot of value in the ideas and the suggestions that Selena shared with us in that little brief interview that I shared with you in today's podcast. My purpose for bringing this to you today was that we spend a lot of time in our lives in trying to create our businesses, no matter where you are, whether you're just starting out or you've been in your business for a while, or you're thinking about changing course and going in a different direction. But we spend so much time trying to get to where we're trying to go that we forget a lot of times to just be where we are. And that means often taking the time to be quiet, to listen to ourselves, to try something new, to explore something outside of the thing that we think we're supposed to be doing in order to get a clearer picture about what's really being put together, I believe, for us. And that's what I really hope that you gained out of that discussion with Selena that I had with her, and the tips I shared with you at the beginning of this podcast episode today. To see the show notes for today's episode, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/006 for episode 6. There you'll find the links to Selena and how to learn more about her, plus additional resources not mentioned in the podcast. So again, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/006 to see the show notes for today's episode. We have entered the age of creative self-employment. In the new economy, people are creating true security for themselves. That's why I believe there's never been a better time in history to monetize your gifts. So if you're ready to take control of your financial and creative future, I have something for you. It's my free audio and PDF program, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. And you can get that at my website, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57ways gift.